for that. Beep, beep.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us at the second meeting of the new year for the Hyde Park Planning Board. Please take note of the exits around the room in case of emergency. Now join us as we salute the Stars and Stripes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think we're going to have to have some numbers on emergency exits.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda, we do have someone in the audience. The first item on the agenda is a continued public hearing for Grutman. This is the Rhinebeck Antiques Emporium. The applicants are seeking approval to amend the site plan to add a storage facility on the site. Making a motion to reopen the public hearing.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Let me first open this up to public comment. Anyone want to speak about this application? There being none, since the last meeting, we had a new submission of plans. However, our chief concern is that this structure fit into the character of the neighborhood, which is residential. I should also add that this is not an allowed use in the district. So it's proceeding as a prior non-conforming and requesting a special use permit to expand. Under our code, we have to have a very specific size measurement because the special use permit allows us to grant an up to 50% expansion. The 350,000 square feet as shown in the current existing structure does not match the size listed on the property card used for tax purposes here in Town Hall. In addition, using the scale, our engineer and planning consultant both confirmed that it doesn't measure out 6350 using the scale that they see. So we've asked the engineer representing the applicant to go and do a field measurement. That way we can be certain what we're going to be authorizing as an expansion if we do. Because at this point, even counting the scale that includes the parking spaces, the increase in parking spaces plus that exist or that are awash, and it looks as though the building might be too big. So we're going to have that done before the next setup, before we consider approval. In addition, there were several items that were somehow omitted from the latest submission, including a request to add shutters around the windows, a fence along the back line, and some stormwater issues, including removing a swale that's still shown. So because there still are some moving parts, and because our consultants at our agenda meeting felt that they were too open-ended to leave as conditions to consider approval, that it would be better to open and continue this to the next meeting. So there being no public comment, any additional comment from the board? May I get a motion to continue this to February 3rd?
So move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And aside, Vice Chair Groninger and I will be gone for the next meeting. Do we have a quorum? Will there be at least 4 people present at the next meeting? Yes?
At this point, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure.
Be weather dependent.
The next item on the agenda is Hutchins Staatsburg Storage Phase 2. If you recall, we have already gone through this application twice before actually, and Mr. Turner is here to represent, so I'll just briefly summarize by pointing out that one of the conditions of the approval for the addition of the back buildings, or the buildings to the east of the current structure, involved getting a wetlands permit from the DEC. In negotiating with the Department of Environmental Conservation, it appears that they would like to have, they offered several solutions. The preferred solution for the applicant that Mr. Turner is here to discuss tonight is moving one building 15 feet, I believe, forward or toward the west. Mr.
Correct.
Turner, welcome back. Let me turn it over to you.
Say it's nice to be back.
Good.
Yes, we've been involved with a lot of communications with the DEC, and as per the letter, there were various options: shortening the building, making some other changes. But this is the one that I know Scott would prefer to do: maintain his length of the existing building, shifting it down 15 feet. And what that ends up by doing is it reduces the amount of grading that we need to do to accommodate the flat surface area for the building that slopes off to the east into, further into the wetland buffer. It also allows us to reconfigure our driving lane going around building number 2, which is the larger of the 2 buildings that we're putting there. And in that reconfiguration, we can kind of reshape our rain garden to also pull some of the grading out of the buffer area. The impact that we have is we lose one parking space. And that occurs in the lot that's at the west side of the building. And so what I ended up by doing is I just kind of kicked those spaces at an angle in order to accommodate as many as possible in there, which I can achieve 5. And so, as I mentioned in the letter, we're now looking to request to be able to defer 29 spaces and provide 29 spaces where the original application provided 30 spaces and deferred 28.
Thank you. I just want to point out for the record that, as was discussed in the initial conversion of PDQ manufacturing to a storage facility, that by and large, most people, when they come to this, would either park in the front to go inside, or if they were in the back, they might not even actually use parking stalls as outlined. They'd probably park
Correct.
right in front of their space, unpack, pick things up, and move on. So that's why we considered the banking of the parking spaces in the first place, and I don't think that the change in one is of much magnitude. I'll also, for the record, point out that Ms. Moss, as zoning administrator, does have the ability to determine that certain field changes are de minimis and don't require a site plan amendment, but moving it 15 feet and the change in the parking, et cetera, seemed to her too large. So what we have to do is re-refer this back to county planning because it is on a state highway. So under 239M of the general municipal law, we're required to. And because the building is shifting, we'd like to have Staatsburg Fire Department weigh in on it, just so they know, in case, it's rare that there would be a case of emergency, but just so they have it in their records that there's a change, because they have a
Correct.
copy of the last plan. So tonight, we're ready to take action, in the sense that we're going to type the action and refer it. We'll also be reaffirming seeker, because this actually has less impacts by pulling the building away from an environmentally sensitive area. Finally, I should also add that 4 of us walked this site, and the wetland area that they're interested in preserving didn't seem that important to at least me at the time, and I've been trained in this, because it's already a disturbed area. So there must be something about the pattern of the water flow there and how it enters ultimately into the larger wetland that makes this, more critical. So I'm glad you worked with the DEC, and
Yeah.
they did what they're supposed to do as well. So any questions from the board for Mr. Turner?
No?
Well, this is the quickest way we can do it. We have to go through all this harangue for this.
We can, under state law, yes. And we do want to refer it to the fire department, just in case they have a problem with the turning radius with their trucks, because I don't think so, because you're moving it, it's still not
That's
poking
me,
further than the
Right.
building number 2, the larger
Correct.
building. I don't see what issue it would be.
Correct.
But just in case, we want to make sure that, we don't want to have the fire department blindsided somehow by arriving there and thinking that a building is one location and it's not. So if Ms. Moss wants us to waive the public hearing, we could do that. But I was going to go ahead and set the start in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'd
before
like
the-
to do whatever we can to move
Yeah,
along.
'cause this should be one that we-
including waiving the public hearing.
And we can add, Ann, have you done a request for expedited review yet with the county?
No, but I can.
It's just a little note on there to say, please return
yes.
by a certain
Yes, I
date. So, yeah, and since they already didn't have much comments on this in the first
Correct.
place, I don't think they're going to have much comments, so we could ask that they get their comments back to us before February 3rd.
Right, I think.
We can open the public hearing,
here,
and we can do the same thing with Staatsburg Fire. I would encourage, have you contacted Staatsburg Fire? think
I have not, but I can give them a call.
I'd give them a
and let
call.
know.
Ann can give you the telephone number we have on record, and just alert them that it's coming, and we'd love their comments back on the 3rd, because we don't want to close the public hearing until we've heard from them that it's
Right.
okay. They usually provide comments by email, just so you know. which are
Correct, yeah, no,
acceptable.
most of the stuff that I've done through communications has always been through a cell phone
Yeah.
and by email.
They don't really have someone, it's a smaller location, so they don't have someone there, but it's a very dedicated band of volunteers, I assure you. I know
Yes.
some of the chiefs. So who has this file?
I do.
Can you read the resolution for us, please?
Sure. Resolution reaffirming prior seeker determination of non-significance and referring the application to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development. Hutchins Staatsburg Storage LLC, resolution number 15-3A. Whereas. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board hereby reaffirms its prior determination of non-significance adopted on October 21st, 2015, as the proposed changes are more protective of the wetlands and will not result in significant adverse environmental impact. Be it further resolved that the planning board hereby directs its secretary to refer the application to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development pursuant to Section 239M of the General Municipal Law and to the Staatsburg Fire District for review and comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Do you have 2 copies to give to Ann tonight that we could send?
Um,
I can make those copies.
Of the plan itself?
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 copies of the plan itself I can give her.
Perfect.
I can
Thank
give her
you.
mine, and then I have one on the board that I can provide, so.
Okay. We're a generous group, thank you. So we can get that going. And Ann, if you just request both to respond by the 3rd?
If you want, you can just
It's
take
so minor, I can't imagine them not doing it, but
Thanks.
then again, there've been a lot of changes at county planning. There's some new people hired, so I don't even know who's reviewing Hyde Park anymore.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner, for coming out. It's always a pleasure. I should have told you you didn't need to, but it's nice to have you here.
Why don't we give you that one, and I'll keep my final copy.
Sure.
That gives you 2.
And now may I get a motion to set the public hearing for February 3rd?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Again, Mr. Groninger and I won't be here. We wish everyone luck and hope this is concluded by then.
Hopefully it'll move quickly.
It should, because it's
Well, I'd like
pretty
to-
minor.
Because I know we'd like to be able to get this through, because we can't submit the drawings to the building department until we get
Until,
this
I know.
going. And if we're changing the site plan, I need to get you a revised site plan, so that way you can sign off on
That will be, you
the
can,
new site.
I was going to say, you can contact Ms. Moss about what she exactly wants. Sometimes she'll accept. This is kind of an overlay to stick into the sheet, as long as there's a signature block for me.
Okay.
But just contact the office and.
Well, I know
speak
for
to
the
her directly.
DEC, I have to revise the site plan.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay, then you can just submit it. Okay,
Correct.
fine. We're trying to save on
I know
expenses,
I'm trying
that's
to
all.
save things too, but
Right.
this is the process that they're asking for.
We know the process. Thanks again.
Okay, no
Take
problem.
care.
Thank you.
The last item on the agenda tonight is a site plan waiver. The location is 24 Curry Lane. It's in the Historic Overlay District, or actually Scenic Area of Statewide Significance. As a reminder, I live at 30 Curry Lane, so these are my neighbors. They're weekenders. I don't know them that well. We'd already waived when they did some property improvements that were to the exterior of the building. They, in the meantime, have added a wooden fence along the western perimeter of the property. That property goes down pretty steeply. They want to add a spa, formerly known as hot tub, along with a retaining wall. And if you recall, we had an issue with a retaining wall that was
Yeah,
constructed. Yes, so in this case.
Cliffs of Dover, you mean?
Yes, in this case, the contractor actually contacted the building department and said, is this load bearing? And Mr. Westermeyer said, yes. So you need site plan approval, so they're doing it the proper way. But Tad and I looked at the site, and it appears that the way they've designed it is the retaining wall will go in just so they won't fall down from the change in the property and tumble through the fence. But I think that even though you can see part of it from the river, you'd be looking at basically the size of a pinhead head bobbing over the spa so they can see the river while they're in the water. And it doesn't change the character of the neighborhood, which is residential entirely. So, any questions on this waiver request? Who has this resolution?
I do. Site plan waiver, Town Code Section 108-9.4C2, January 20th, 2016, Resolution 16-2. Whereas, now therefore be it resolved that the Town of Hyde Park Planning Board hereby waives site plan requirements for the file entitled Philip and Tucker Hot Tub with Retaining Wall regarding this specific request as submitted on January 15th, 2016, and in the building permit application file dated January 11th, 2016 by Loveland Landscaping Incorporated by Pam Tucker.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any other business, ladies and gentlemen? There being none, may I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Media Committee, and good night.
Took longer for the car to warm